In the 19th century, the philosophies of both Nietzsche and Kierkegaard explored the question of meaningful human existence in the face of an absurd and indifferent world. Later thinkers would elaborate on these themes to popularize a more coherent existentialist attitude. In this presentation, we will explore fashion as an individual and commercial phenomenon, and examine how existentialism sees the interaction of high-end fashion and identity. As a starting point, we have Barbara Kruger's series of artworks which elaborate on a tendency for identity to be viewed through a consumerist lens. She plays with philosophical objects such as Descartes' "I think, therefore I am," to prompt us to question what we see and hear in mainstream media, and contemplate how these messages shape our identities and society. We interviewed fashion students to better understand how we express our identity, and how existentialism and fashion relate.
Does other people's perceptions of you affect how you dress?
Oh yeah.
I think the short answer to that is it used to. Growing up and maturing, I've kind of learned to deal with that a lot more, and I now dress for myself. Like, I don't worry about what other people are going to think of me. Like, I don't want to say it at all because that's not true. I feel like it's very much drilled into me from being so aware of that and being like hyper aware of that when I was younger, that I don't think that's ever going to go away.
In her book, The Ethics of Ambiguity, Simone de Beauvoir coined the phrase the crisis of adolescence. This phrase describes how in our teenage years, we're confronted with contradictions between adults we assumed infallible, and also with the realization that we're both a free subject and an object for the other. As the fashion student also suggested, it is at this age where we feel most self-conscious in what we wear, because of this sudden shift from childhood complacency and imminence to the realization of the contingency of being. With adolescence, we interact with others in more significant ways, while at the same time aware of our own freedom to disclose being, and so are led to worry about our appearance for others.
Do you ever feel judged for what you wear?
All the time. I don't think that's ever going to go away.
In his major work, Being and Nothingness, Jean-Paul Sartre develops the phenomenon of the look. Sartre believes that when a person dresses, they are in a state of reflective consciousness, dealing with objectification by others. We can only ever dress for the gaze of another, treating ourselves as a being in itself rather than one for itself. He argues that the subject will try to present themselves as best as they can to control the gaze of the other.
People desire something they can't have, and that can take a toll on someone's mental health because people want the best, people want to be the best.
Returning to the contemporary fashion industry, high-end fashion utilizes economic demand through scarce materials and restricted production, but also cultural demand. This involves carefully selecting influential people to endorse brands, which build an association between their social status and the products. Often this operates by affirming a brand based on the person wearing it, but it can operate to negate desirability. One example of this was Louis Vuitton's policy of sending Gucci handbags to reality TV stars who were seen as tacky. Action directed at desire on the parts of brands themselves also leads to an acceleration of trends, as companies are incentivized to constantly produce new items. This constant dialogue of products and trends means that design is more and more a reference to previous design than independent creation. It could be argued that the interaction of desire and production is outside the scope of the existentialist project, and that it would be more effective to look from the perspective of someone like Baudrillard. He considers similar questions in a post-structuralist way, viewing current meanings and signifiers as relevant only in reference to other signifiers, without any relation to reality left. He believed that the culture and media we engage with produces our reality and its history. In this postmodern world, we understand our surroundings only in relation to what plays out on the screens in front of us, and in this society, Baudrillard says that truth becomes nothing but a human creation, and we define ourselves only self-referentially.